So it's been a little while since I did a video, but I'm back again with another movie review. Now my background is wrinkled, so please just don't look at the background. Okay. Anyway, so I at first whenever I thought about this movie, at first I was like, I don't know. With the first movie, I was like, you know what, I don't know. It looks like a horror film. I'm not really into horror like that. Now, psychological thrillers kind of depends on how bad it is. Just depends. Anyways, so it was actually pretty good, and I was like, oh, okay. Saw some familiar faces in there, and then right on with the second one. The stuff that happened in there. That's all. I'm just aside. Anyway, so if I'm not mistaken, it started off with the there was a woman who had a daughter, and she was going home back with her husband, and she looked kind of worried, and she was trying to get his attention, I guess, to talk to him about their daughter, and he just snaps on her like like he just snaps on her, and I'm just like, sir, if anybody or anything or your job makes you act like that towards your wife, your rib, the woman who had your daughter, maybe you need to take a step back. Maybe you need to be like, let's go on a vacation, like take some time off, because you're not supposed to be acting like that. Like, nothing's supposed to make you act like that, okay? But anyways, he gonna tell her, go for a swim. Go for a swim. And I was like, I hope that's, I hope you don't drown her in the pool or something like that. I don't know why my mind went to that, but I be thinking about this because in these kind of movies, anything goes, anything can happen, anything can pop up. So that's not something crazy to think about. But anyway, so she's swimming in the pool and he's watching her or whatever. I'm like, okay, and then she gets out of the pool. She goes into I guess the sauna. Then the sauna locks. And there was a note, I think, in the rocks, and she's trying to figure out what to do. And I was like, now I know he's not putting her through this. I just know what kind of a husband does this? And she almost got it, and she didn't. And I was like, man, she almost had it. And I was pretty mad. I was like, I can't believe this man would get mad just because, and she wasn't even bothering him. But I guess he was a bother to her, and he got mad, so he offed her with his sadistic games. And I was like, wow, that poor young girl, she's gonna have to grow up without her mom because he wanted to be a jerk. Anyway, so then it goes back to two main characters from the last movie whose names have escaped me, I ashamedly admit. I think it was Zoe, I think. Anyways, so she was like, she convinced him to go back to go with him to try to get on a plane to go and stop, the person who's behind all this. I think his name was Minos or something like that. And at first he was like, at first I was like, yeah, but now I'm like, I don't want to do this no more. And I was like, that's a good idea. But he was like, I don't want to do this no more. She was like, oh, come on, don't you want to stop him? They're out there, he's gotten away with killing how many people with his stupid games. We gotta stop him. And I'm like, either she's brave or she's crazy, or a little bit of both. But anyways, I don't know how, but she talks him still into going. Well, actually, I take that back. She didn't talk him into going. She actually decided not to go on her own. She was trying to get on the plane, but then she kept having flashbacks, post-traumatic stress about what happened with her and her mom whenever she was on the plane. And she couldn't do it. And I was like, dang, that's really messed up. That's really sad. Although it kind of was a good thing because I think they were waiting for her. They were waiting for her to get on that plane. They were planning for her to get on that plane so that they could off him and her. Basically tie up loose ends and keep them from trying to expose them. But it didn't work because she didn't get on the plane. He followed her. But then they got on a stupid subway, and then it was the game had started all over again. All new contestants. People who had survived the last games. And she's like, so he's been doing this over and over and over again. And they were like, we got to get out of here. We got to do something. And then they had a game that came up with little numbers. Not the numbers, the letters or whatever. I told my brother this, and I'm pretty sure I said this before on this channel. I would not have survived any of that. I'm gonna just be blatantly honest. It's not that I'm stupid. It's just that I don't work good under pressure. Okay? And I'm not always great at solving riddles, like, oh, I grow out of grass and I swim through water. Like, what am I? Like, I'm not good at that kind of stuff. Like, I be thinking hard, and it's like, you know, and then like I said, whenever I'm nervous and I'm scared, all that goes out the window. So I wouldn't be good. I wouldn't be good in these kind of games. Like if the idea was to like watch them, see what they would do, and be entertained by how they solve what they solve, or who offs who, it would be boring watching me, because nothing would get done. I would panic, and that would be the end of that. So anyways, so they're in the subway, and then the doggone, like, basically they had like some sort of like thing set up that basically, like, I guess produced like an electric charge, and it made everything in the subway bus that was metal basically deadly to touch. And they were doing so good, and then it started like kicking up like the how I guess the electric charge or whatever. And then that poor guy, I think he had survived one of the games where I think he said he blew out his eardrum. That was like basically what he took away. And of course, your normal reaction, like if you fall or somebody bumps into you or you stumble in a bus, your normal reaction is going to be to grab something, right? Of course, he grabs the pole, and God, like watching him get electrocuted to death, I was like, Jesus help us. So he gets electrocuted, he dies, and then they manage to get out of there. Of course, not without getting shocked, like here and there, which I can't imagine how painful that must have been. And then they get out of there. Then they go to like I think it was like the next room. I'm probably forgetting one, but that one where it was like it was basically almost like chess or checkers rather, and they were like stepping on the tiles and trying not to get burned, and they almost didn't make it. They almost didn't make it. And then they went to like the little beach place where they basically lost 2 people, and I was like, wow. At least in the last one, they got knocked off one by one. But, well, they kind of didn't lose 2 people, but they did. But anyways, so the guy who was like the preacher or whatever, obviously, like, that man had some serious post-traumatic stress and survivor's guilt. And I felt really bad for him. And at the little, beach thing, the sand started sucking people in. He was like, no, I have to do this. Let me do this. And he jumps in there, with the rope and the tube, and he pulls the lady out, and she was like, no, we gotta go back for him, he saved my life. And they were like, we can't go back for him, everything's sinking, we gotta get out of here. And then the main character, she was like, I think we have to go like up, crawl up the the ladder that's on top of the that's on the lighthouse. And the other chick was like, nah fam, like it's in the icebox, we gotta go through the icebox. And I don't know why that sounds funny. Like, oh, well, we gotta go up the lighthouse. No, we gotta go in the icebox. And so they were kind of like split. And like the other girl was like, oh God, who would I listen to? And the guy was like, look, she's smart. She solved like all the puzzles. Like, you wanna listen to her. She's never led us wrong before. And she was like, you sure right. And so she just goes up there, and the other chick was like, I don't know what to do. Like, at first she's gonna go through like the ice box, and he's trying to like get her to come, and he didn't waste all that time trying to get her to come with them, and then didn't make it to the lighthouse on time, and then falls into the sand. And then she comes out of the ice box. I'm thinking she didn't die or something. No, she comes out of the ice box. She realizes everything's still sinking like it was before, and she just goes in the ice box. Like, basically, like there's nowhere else for her to go anyways. They make it through, and then they get to like the streets or whatever, and then they find out that I guess the ice box was just a faster shortcut to where they were gonna end up anyways. And she was like, no, don't close that. And they were like, what is it? She was like, it's acid rain. And I was like, dang. And then they were like standing underneath the thing, and then the acid rain was just dissolving like the one little piece of protection that they had. Then they went inside of the phone booth. And they were like, well, we gotta press some number or something. And so, of course, the main character, she was the only one who went out just to be safe. Like, and it's crazy because she left the phone booth just to be safe. Well, she didn't make it. I don't remember if she made it to the phone booth or not. But she went out and took the umbrella just to be on the safe side, and to like risk her life to see if what they figured to do was the right thing to do. And if it wasn't, then she would be the only one who got ate up by the acid rain. It was the right thing. Good and unfortunately, but because she was the only one who left the phone booth, she was able to get to the car in time, the taxi, and then they tried to leave the phone book, and then the taxi door closed, and then the phone booth door closed. And I was like, see, somebody's pulling some major strings, because that should not have happened like that. Like, they solved the puzzle, and they should have been able to get into that taxi too. And I felt like somebody did not want those other two women to win, and that kind of broke my heart, because they were like right there. They were like, it's kind of like, you want people to survive these games, and if you allow them to, work in the time and the space that they have, they will. Like, you'll have more than one person. But I feel like it's these games, they mess with you. It's a psychological thing, and it's never fair, because they could have like more than one person winning, probably most of the time, but they make it to where you don't. And that's what made me mad. Like, I was like mad at, during the last movie, when I saw what happened. I don't even want to go down the last movie, but that made me really mad. And then too, whenever they showed that, the guy who was behind it all, his daughter, and he had her locked away in like basically a glass room, and I was like, well, at least she's living comfortably. And talking about you have 3 tries into the room, like I think it was like filled up with like toxic gas or something like that, and she had tried once on her birthday or something like that, so she only had like 2 tries left. And I was like, now why is he doing this? First he offs his wife, now he's treating his daughter like a guinea pig, like a hamster, like a fish in a tank. Come on, man, that's just, I'm like, a world's worst father. Like, you don't get a Father's Day award. No sir, you're the world's worst father. Anyways, so then they show that like he's alive because they dropped him through the sand, and I'm like, so what about the other guy? Oh, y'all just said forget about the other guy. He was all that mattered. Y'all full of it. Anyways, so she gets through, and she's like screaming, banging on like the window of the taxi, because they were right there. Like, they were right there. And then she falls through, and then she was like crying, because of course she was crying because she lost the guy. And then she ends up with the daughter, and she was like, oh, don't worry, he's still alive, like, I saved him for you. And I was like, she was like, what are you talking about? She was like, oh, I was the one who designed all the rooms. Like as if that was something to like be like, oh, that was you, great job. Like, no madam, you designed stuff that got us killed, that got people killed, okay? And she was like, I can't believe you're the one who's been doing this. He's like, oh, no, it's my father. My father is the one who's been killing all of y'all. I've just been designing the rooms that he did it with, And she was like, I don't know what to say to that. She was like, oh, well, I kept your friend alive because I know you like him, so I could help you, but you have to get me out of here. And she was like, how do I get you out of there? And she's like, okay. And she starts explaining like all this stuff, like what to do and all this kind of stuff, and like the riddle. Like I said, she would have been stuck in there, death by toxic gas, because I'm sorry, I wouldn't have been able to help her. Like I said, I'm bad at riddles. That's just how it is. Anyway, so she was able to, because that girl was smart, okay? Sis was smart, all right? She was able to help this girl in 2 tries. Of course, like, give room for error. Like I said, I'm not here to throw stones at judge, because ain't no way I would have been able to figure that out at all. Okay, anyways, but she was able to figure it out and help her out of there. She's like, okay, come on, let's go to like the room or whatever. And she's like typing on the keyboard, and like meanwhile he's in the same scenario that the mom was in. And I was like, oh God, maybe he'll survive. Like, watching her mom die like that was heartbreaking, to say the least. And he survived. And then she gets him. She's like, oh, I'm so happy you're alive. I was so sad whenever I saw you fall to the sand. I told myself I shouldn't have forced you to come. You didn't want to come, and I made you come even though you said you didn't want to. And then, like, I think they like called the police or something. And then there was like some young man who, like, her dad shot, and he liked her and he helped her get away and stuff like that. And I'm like, but sir, you're shot now. Like, he shot you in the gut and you're bleeding out on the floor. I think she might have just used you, sir. But anyways, then she's like, oh yeah, you can go home. So she's trying to like understand like why all this happened, and she was telling her like, oh, my dad has investors, like people who pay to watch the game or whatever, and like they wanted you back, or like they wanted you, like he's obsessed with you, like he likes how you think and solve the games or whatever. She was like, that's crazy. So like, oh yeah. And then when she leaves, like as she's leaving with the police and the other guy, they show that she was actually the one that was mostly behind this. She was like a psychopath as a child, and her mother was just reacting as how a mother would. Like, she was worried. She was like, oh my God, this is not what little girls should be thinking of at all. And she didn't know what to do. I think she was like taking her to a psychiatrist, trying to talk to her dad about it, and he would not listen. And she legit looked at her mom and was like, I thought you would be better than this. I was putting you through a test and you failed. You disappoint me, mother. And I was like, this little girl has a problem. And then it was her who killed her mother. She was the one who set that room up and had her mother killed in there. And then and see, that's the thing I was talking about again. She did win. Like, she actually got, like, solved the puzzle and got through it, but the daughter made sure she didn't. So I'm like, how are you gonna, like, torture somebody by putting them through that and expect them to lose, but when they win, no, you got a sore ego, you got fragile pride, you're so offended because you didn't think that they would be smart enough or good enough to win, and you wanted them to die down there, but because they didn't, you had to sabotage the game so that they could die, so that you could say that they died. Oh God, that made me so angry. Like, I was like, she was literally right there, and so were the other two young women, and she made sure that they died. She made sure that they died, and I was like, wow, that's pretty sick-minded. But I'm telling you, she got it from the dad. She got it from the dad. But anyways, finding that out, I was like, they literally just got this man. They called the police or whatever, and I'm pretty sure he's going to prison. But what they don't know is that the greater half of the craziness is still walking around free. And I was like, oh my God. Like, so not only is really, she's like a psychopathic murderer. Like, cause she murdered her mother, and she murdered all those other people in the little thing. And I'm sure the dad the dad was crazy. He was cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, but she was crazy for real. And that's why he had her in that box. And I was like, oh God, that's why he had her in that box. And then she had Zoe, I think that was her name, brought there, talking about some, I saved him for you. Like, my dad's making me do this. And she brought that girl there to trick her into helping her get out, because she knew that she was probably the only one smart enough to help do it, so that she can get her dad back after he put her in there, because she was crazy and he didn't want her to kill nobody else. Well, anybody else that I guess he cared about, you know. I was like, so not only did y'all just set up for a part 3, but y'all just threw me for a loop. Y'all really did, because I really thought that young woman was innocent. I really thought that her father was forcing her to do his bidding, that he was really the one that killed her mother. It was her all along. And then when the mom tried to tell him, he was just like, get away from me. He's just slamming on the desk, talking about, I have to do this work. And I'm just like, well, he should blame himself, because she got her craziness from him, and he didn't listen when the mom tried to tell him. She was up here crying and upset because she didn't know what to do. She didn't know how to fix it. And I was like, that's a really sad way to go. Really, really bad. But anyways, this was good. I am waiting for that third movie, because I want to know how they're going to find out that girl was responsible. Like, I want to know how they're going to find that out. But anyways, like I said, it threw me for a loop. I wasn't, happy to see people die again. But, that was just sad. Like, I always get sad during these movies. I'm not gonna lie, because I don't like watching people die. It makes me sad. I be thinking about, like, oh, what happened if they would have survived? Like, why couldn't they survive? Like, why you had to do it to them? But anyways, y'all tell me what y'all thought about the movie in the comments. Just let me know what y'all thought, in the comments below. Did you like the movie? Did you not like the movie? Are you still paying attention to my wrinkled background? Did I just draw your attention to it by saying that? Let me know in the comments below how y'all felt. You ready for the third movie? Because I practically am now. So let me know in the comments.